I would like to think that my dedication encourages me more and more each day to be as serious as I am. I have quite a few things that I actually follow on a daily basis. I have routines that I do, like this one here in basketball. Every day I come into the gym. Every day that I do come into the gym, I tend to shoot around the rim anywhere between 3 to 10 shots. Really just sitting in that form and letting that release go. And I do it in the front of the rim and on the left and the right side of the rim. Might be in thought or in my feelings, or might just be a long day, and I kind of come in and break it down. And after I do my 5 or 10 on the sides and in the middle, I end up going straight back down the middle, and continuously shooting these same shots, sitting in my form and ensuring my release is as close to on point as it can be. And that's just one routine, that's a basketball routine. But then you have my routines, waking up and doing my devotionals or reading some notes that I've created. I have quite a few. I have folders in my phone that are all sectioned off within about 420 different notes. So I have folders like devotional folder or a cognitive folder, or I'm training my mind, I'm training my spirit. And those notes might sound like a breakdown of where I am. So training my soul would say something like, the most important thing is to understand that my spirit can only be fueled, never controlled. And there's good and bad. So my spirit relies on what I feed it. Feeding it the knowledge of every day includes devotionals that allows me to follow my feelings. I give myself lectures so I can display the basic understandings of the knowledge that I do have. I have notes in my phone that allow me to speak my mind. So it might just be cries for help where I'm just releasing emotion, or it might be poems where I'm expressing some emotion I can't really understand fully. And that goes into understanding my thoughts, knowing that discipline creates success in basketball. As an influencer, knowing that consistency is key, and as a composer, knowing that creativity breeds excellence. So these kind of things are the fuels in my spirit. Knowing that love is a choice, or living today to prepare for tomorrow. That's how I operate in life. And, in the pursuit of happiness, continuously talking to God. All of this stems and dwells with God. All of this for me begins and ends with God. And I'm just really in the midst of it all. In the midst of the process that God has for me. So I'm not leading my own process or creating my own success without the identity of God around. I'm developing what I know to be true for myself, but from the revelations that God has spoken to me. And that's kind of different in many different cases. It might show up on a court like this, but show up in my life a completely different way. And this all started back when I was 16, I would say, having a love for basketball and finding a love for myself. It was kind of hard because of how much I studied in class. I didn't really have study habits. I just loved knowing things. So when it came to, being in class, I would just do a lot of work, get a lot of work done, be pretty much the first person done. But I didn't have that same energy towards basketball. I didn't grow up in a basketball family where my brother played D1 and this, that, and I didn't have all of that. So I kind of learned and studied the game in my meantime, and in the times that I could. Maybe playing on a team at 15, but then going to Georgia at 16 changed a lot for me as far as basketball. It opened up a lot of doors because you start to see the dynamics of the people around you. You start to identify how different things are for you. Maybe if you live in Wisconsin compared to moving to Georgia, you learn how the competition is very much stronger. these kids down there, they've been playing basketball since before any of us up here would even consider it. You would have to actually be put into the spaces here in Milwaukee to play basketball, where in Georgia, it's given. It's an opportunity given to you at that age. So that kind of thing is something I had to learn along the way. And I'm dedicated to learning even more, which is another reason why I'm so serious. I'm not the kind of player that's okay with being half-assed. I'm not the kind of person that's okay with just knowing a piece of information and running with it. No, I need to understand it in totality. What more could I do? What more can I do? And that's where I became a lot more serious in the game of basketball when I turned, I would say, 18, 19, playing at Texas A&M in the intramural league. I kind of finally got a taste of being on a team again since I was 15, and it motivated me. I wasn't the best yet again. I wasn't training. I didn't have, all the skills or tools necessary to be talented. I just played, and in playing, it motivated me to take it more serious. I had people in my ear saying different things, saying I couldn't be good enough, wouldn't be good enough, or actually potentially had a chance to be better than what I was. But again, I was 19, so at that time, you kind of get wrapped up in the identity of basketball. Most 19-year-olds already doing windmill 360s, step back threes, and transition, and I could barely dribble the basketball. So that's why I would say, drive is a lot different than others. I had to release the weight of what I thought a basketball player should look like. I had to release the lingering notion that you could only be a young basketball player, and as you get older, basketball isn't in the cards for you. I had to release those things because they kind of held me down. They kind of weighed in on my spirit and made me really contemplate if this is something I should pursue, if this is something I should do. And whether I make or miss a shot, whether I dribble the fastest or the bestest, none of that really matters to me, at least today, because I know how dedicated I am. It's not a question of how fast I am, but how much more work am I willing to put in to be better. I think those are the questions that I ask myself that allows me to be even more serious on my daily life. I take life very seriously. I don't make these YouTube posts or speak motivational facts to the world just to not live it. This is my life, and in living it, sometimes I fall short. A lot of times, just like in this game of basketball, I might miss a shot. I might airball a three. I might turn the ball over. But does that mean I'm not a student of the game? Does that mean I'm not someone that can be great at the game of basketball? No, it just means I'm human and I make mistakes in learning the game of basketball. And I continue to do what I can to be better at the game of basketball. So that's really where I had to change how I handled the game of basketball, because back in college, I would just come into the gym, good, bad, or indifferent. I wouldn't go to class. I would just be playing ball. Didn't care what it was, how it was, who was there. I'm playing ball. No matter what, I'm playing ball. And that kind of pushed me into being a lot more serious because I took playing ball serious. I might not have been the best, but I was playing. I was playing the best players. I was in those runs. I was trying to figure out how to get better. And that is where the integrity, the dedication started to develop. When I went back home after my first year of college, I had 2 jobs. One where I was walking to work about an hour, and the other where I was at work damn near all day. When it came to actually being dedicated to the game of basketball, I had to force myself to be dedicated. If this is something I wanted, then I had to put in the work to have it. But what would that look like? When you consider yourself to other players, when you aren't that good, you have a lot of growing room. And that kind of weighs in on you because you start to question, am I good enough? Can I be what I know others already are? Can I become near that? Am I able to play like that? These questions come into mind, and a lot of people give up. Or me personally, I didn't give up. I went harder. Okay, I'm 19, 20, and I want to play the game of basketball. I want to play it to the highest degree. So what does that look like for me? I had to figure that out. So what I started with is knowing what I could do. I knew one thing for certain is I'm a very good defender. It's not much anybody can say about that. I'm really good at defense. So it was no longer a question of, well, what can I do on the court? I know I can play defense no matter when or where I am on the court. If I'm playing basketball, I can play defense to the best of my ability. Now, the other question came into, how do I get my offense going? That's where I started year by year breaking offense down. Well, for one, you have to be able to dribble the basketball, handle the ball enough to not get it turned over, to not lose it, to be able to make a shot, to be able to catch, put the ball back down maybe and pick it back up to shoot. It's plenty of different scenarios where you have to put the ball on the ground. And if all you are is a defender, then these teams won't trust you to do anything like that. They won't trust you to even shoot a basketball because you can't dribble it. And that is where my game kind of developed. It grew even more so because I'm picking this ball up, whether you feel like I can or not. So that turned into knowing more. Well, I have doubters that think I can't do this. So how do I make sure I neglect doubt and instill power, instill motivation? Well, I had to have the right support system. And that started with, seeking more from God, finding God and understanding the power he possesses in my life and understanding what that looks like for my future. You have a lot of people that's going to say things about you. One of the things that resonated with me still to this day is that I'm like Dennis Rodman, and I should continue to play like Dennis Rodman. So if I do want to make it somewhere, I can make it based upon the fact that I'm really good at defense. I didn't really have to do too much on offense. But to me, that was settling. That was belittling. And it wasn't a slight at Dennis Rodman himself. It was a slight to me. I was a child. That shouldn't be my ceiling because I'm good at defense or I'm good at rebounding. My ceiling at 15 is Dennis Rodman. Where's the investment in me becoming a better player? Where's the excruciating want to see me be better? Is that all that people thought of me? Is that, well, you already here, so you might as well just do this? Did people not see anything better for me or greater from me? And those kind of questions resonated for a while after I turned 16, 17. And I think the biggest inspiration was from Kobe's farewell speech, Dear Basketball. When he left the game of basketball in 2015, I saved that speech. Or at least his farewell tour. I saved that speech in my phone. And I reread it multiple times because of the emotion he put behind it. That feeling he gave to me at the time was passion. I was maybe 16, going on 17, and he instilled passion into me before I reached 18, 19. He reminded me of where he was as a boy and where he is as a man. And that feeling just did something to me because I seen and was able to hear the passion in his game. It wasn't just, oh, I love basketball, but it was, Dear Basketball, I gave you everything I had. I gave you my blood, sweat, and tears. I gave you my life. And after 20 plus years, all I have left right now is a broken body. But it gave me everything I wanted in those 20 years. And that is something I want to say for myself. I put in the work to ensure that I gave myself the life I want. I didn't just let life live for me. I got up every day and chose something. I chose to be motivated. I chose to be dedicated. I chose to put in more work to be better. I want that to be what my name is remembered as. Not as a kid who was just as good or maybe all right and he only stayed in that one space. No, I want to be able to break barriers, create tangents, and outliers. I want to be somebody that you couldn't put in the box. You tried to, but all he did was break out the box. He couldn't conform. That's the kind of way I view myself. And over the years, he taught me what dedication, exasperation, and motivation can do to a man with purpose of God. You have to have God in the center of it all. And that's why I'm so serious, because God spoke to me at 19. When there's people speaking to me years before, years after, the moment God spoke to me at 19, nothing else sounded more clear. Nothing else meant more. Because what he spoke to me was something that I will always remember. And that's just being who I am. That's just being where I am. And so I found purpose and I found God. And now that I am serious, I believe that I can compete at any level of basketball. I'm just learning the tools most players got early. And that's where I differentiate. A lot of these kids learn the fundamentals in AAU programs, in middle school programs, in high school programs. In every program they could get in, they learned. Me, I didn't have a program. What you just saw was my program. It's a program I created under God, and I take it very seriously. And in time, it's going to show up and show out. But as of right now, I'm still learning. So keep watching, because I'm very serious and I'm very dedicated.